नमस्कार दोस्तों, FII के वीकली प्रोग्राम टॉक विद एन एक्सपर्ट के इस एपिसोड में आप सबका स्वागत है। दोस्तों, आज हम बात करेंगे टूरिज्म की। कोविड-19 में सभी बिजनेसेस अफेक्ट हुए, लेकिन जो सबसे ज्यादा बिजनेस अफेक्ट हुआ वो था टूरिज्म। टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री इसलिए भी सबसे ज्यादा इफेक्ट हुई क्योंकि कोविड-19 ने हम सबको घरों में कैद कर दिया। और आज हम बात करेंगे टूरिज्म अपॉर्चुनिटीज की रशिया में स्पेसिफिकली, और कोविड-19 के बाद हम सबके बिजनेसेस में बदलाव आए, उनके तौर तरीकों में बदलाव आए, किस तरह रशिया के साथ बिजनेस करने में किस तरह के बदलाव आए, वहां के ये क्या नई बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज निकल के आई। तो हम टूरिज्म और बाकी सभी अपॉर्चुनिटीज की बात करने वाले हैं। और आज हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं हमारे गेस्ट स्पीकर मिस्टर टी श्रीनिवास रेड्डी।
नमस्कार जी।
नमस्कार सर, आपका हमारे इस प्रोग्राम में बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। दो शब्द कहूंगा कि टी श्रीनिवास रेड्डी जी टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री के साथ जुड़े हैं और रशिया बेस्ड है, इंडियन है, और FII के साथ कंट्री कोऑर्डिनेटर के रूप में अपनी सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहे हैं। तो दोस्तों, आज हम जानेंगे रशिया में क्या क्या हमारे बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं और किस तरह हमारे रिस्पेक्टिव प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने देश विदेश में इंडिया की छाप बनाई है। हर देश इंडिया को रिस्पेक्ट की नजर से देखता है, इंडिया के साथ बिजनेस करने की कोशिश करता है, इंडिया के साथ बिजनेस के लिए हमेशा ओपन है। प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत करने से पहले मैं अपनी को होस्ट डॉक्टर द्रव्या से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि वो इंट्रोडक्शन के साथ प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत।
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. It is so great to finally have you with us and to have a little conversation with you. Mr. Reddy is the country coordinator for FII in Russia, and he's a domain expert on travel and tourism industry. And sir, I would request you to kindly, share your story, how from India, all the way to Russia, how this happened, and how has the journey been like?
Well, thank you, Dravya ji. Thank you, Sanjiv, Arora. Well, basically, I'm born in 79 in a very small village in Andhra Pradesh, in the Prakasham district. Well, I did my schooling in Horsley Hill School. It's again, it's an ICSE board. Then further went to Chennai for my secondary schooling. I did my 10th and 11th in Chennai. I am sure that you know the modern, very famous philosopher and thinker in India, Judy Krishnamurti. So I finished the school, which is run under the philosophy of Judy Krishnamurti in the Besant Nagar School in Chennai. Of course, that did prepare lots of, whatever I have to talk about, like, in my life, it did influence a lot. The ideas of Judy Krishnamurti, the simple way of living, the way of thought, etc. Well, of course, once I finished my school in 12th, I got an invitation from the Russian government to pursue my higher education in Russia. So I took that opportunity. Basically, it's like then at the age of 18, that's in 1998, I landed in Moscow, not knowing a word of, I would say, Russian. So that was a challenge which I've taken, because I'm a person who takes the life the way it comes, because it's very, very important, right? I don't like planning too much. So, and this opportunity was taken by me. I was invited by the Russian government on a complete scholarship, including the flight tickets and everything. So I took this opportunity. And of course, it's I would say, a new life started from the very beginning, because, that's the first time ever I had lots of this, the snow. Everything was different. It's like a newborn child. When you are landed here, when you don't know anyone that you know, it's a new language, new culture, new environment, completely zero. And we were taught, I would say, the Russian language for the first year. So I was like, going to the school, let me say kindergarten, right, where you learn a new language. The teacher was teaching us that way. Of course, it was a challenge that we've taken, because learning a new language like Russian within 4 or 5 months, it was difficult, but we took the challenge and it did work out very well. And I also recommend many other people, if someone wants to learn a foreign language, you need to go to that country. You will learn it quickly, right? Basically. Then, of course, we had to finish our the school subject, because Russians, they invite you, but they test you, right? Basically, how you go through the school education. We finished that, and I moved to St. Petersburg. Well, St. Petersburg is the cultural capital of Russia. It's been the Russian capital for 3 centuries. Right now, it is the of course, political capital is Moscow. Cultural capital is St. Petersburg. I moved it in 98 for the first year. Finished bachelor's in computer networks. Did masters for 2 years. Like I did MT in computer networks. But having said that, from 98, there was a challenge financially because the stipend which was given by the Russian government was not sufficient. So I had to request the Indian consulate to help me. Well, of course, there was no direct support from them, but what started was like they have been the Consul General. I still, Mr. Ashok Kumar Sharma, he's a retired Indian ambassador who is right now in Noida. I take him as my godfather because he's the one who gave me a part-time job along with my studies in the Indian consulate. So I got an opportunity to work under him as the commercial executive. So I had an opportunity to meet some of the cabinet ministers who used to come. I mean, that is from 98 till, let me say, 2007, got an opportunity to be a liaison officer to many of the cabinet ministers who were here. So that gave me a good opportunity. Then what has happened is in 2004, I did understand that I'm not a person who would be working with machines, because if you're talking about computer engineering, coding, etc., it's like you work with a machine, right? But I found my capabilities to work with people. So I moved into the travel industry. So 2004 onwards, I worked as a director of a department for one of the tour operators who used to bring charter flights to Goa. In India, we did some charter flights to Goa and then Kerala. So from 2014 onwards, of course, because of some of the geopoliticals, etc., the company terminated operations, and I work as the representative for the top Indian inbound companies here, covering the Russia CIS markets. And of course, we have our neighboring countries like Maldives and Sri Lanka also, which I handle, the Indian subcontinent. So, I'm here as a representative of the travel industry, not only the travel industry, there are other industries also, because of my affinity with the Indian consulate and the business delegations which used to come. There are quite many times where we had CII delegation, which was here for participating in St. Petersburg. We have this international forum, right, in St. Petersburg, which happens in the month of June every year. So we had the commerce ministers delegation led by commerce minister and the director CII. So, from there on, of course, I did involve in some of those activities with T-Board and other areas of business. But of course, my main portfolio is travel. Other businesses, I will be able to, kind of give some guidance. So I'm ready for the, questions from your side, if I'll be able to help the participants.
Wonderful, sir. It was, I think in terms of a job, I think he gave you a lot more than just a job. And it's really so great to hear all of that and the kind of exposure you must have gotten. And really great knowing you. So, coming to the question, sir, you've been in Russia for a very long time. So, I mean, and you've worked with the higher offices over there, and you've worked with a lot of great, connected people over there. So, I may not be, wrong when I say this, that you are very well, aware, and the insides of how the situation is like there, and in terms of the Russia-Ukraine war situation that is happening over there. So I think, and there and therefore, a lot of sanctions also happen from the West, and a lot of developments have been happening on that side. So, how is the industry, how is the Russian economy in general coping up with the situation?
Well, if you see the statistics, right, if you're talking about ruble, you would definitely agree with me that ruble is one of the best performing currencies this season, right? Before the start of the conflict, because we don't call it a war here, we call it a special operation, because that's what exactly is in Russia. Right? Russia itself is not in that status. So it's a special operation which has been operated by the president of the country here. So the exchange rate for a dollar to a ruble was around 75, 80. Let me say in the month of January, and right now we are talking about 60s. So it gained almost 25 to 30%. Well, the reason, of course, is there are many reasons for that. One of the main reasons is that they're selling the hydrocarbons, which Russia is really, really rich in their own currency. So that has, kind of given a big, advantage for the ruble to still trade at a very strong position. Having said that, of course, there are quite many, companies who have left, especially from the West. Some of the fashion houses, etc. And there's lots of, I would say, restriction in terms of imports, and therefore, of course, when there's not much of the imports, your currency, like there's not much of a, you're not spending much of the dollars, right? Basically, that's one thing that is here. Apart from that, what Russia, in terms of BRICS as the one of the main active players in this, so they are trying to negotiate a direct, currency, right? Because they have challenges. You already know that some of their foreign revenues were also frozen. It's around $300 billion plus. So what they're trying to do right now is, trying to negotiate a currency swap between the main countries. Of course, the main ones are the BRICS countries, which is China. They're already doing that. India, they're already doing that, right? Basically, and they want to do it with the other BRICS countries also. So having said that, after COVID, since quite many companies have left the arena, there's a vacuum which is created here. So that can be filled, and they are open to many friendly countries. Fortunately, India is on the list of the friendly countries. If you see recently, I think President Putin, in his address, right, in the Worldwide Conference, he's also had lots of praise for our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and also I would say some of our foreign policy that we have taken. That we are non-aligned and we look at the interest of our country, and calling him to be a patriot and all this stuff, right, etc. So I think Russia is really open for Indian businesses, and any Indian business who's ready to take up that vacuum created, they are very, very happy to make it happen without the bureaucratic processes which were there earlier. So it's a good opportunity for the Indian businesses, to, of course, there is a challenge here because of the language. Not all Russians speak English. Indian business is very, very comfortable with UK and US and other English-speaking countries. Because of let me say the good banking system, etc. But as far as Russia is concerned, that is a challenge that they have to come over with. But because of the introduction of the Vasro currency swap system, the transfer should be easier. But it's a challenge that but I think it's worth the risk, because there's a huge opportunity here. Because right now the pricing is not the first importance, it is the availability, right? So if you're able to make some goods, etc., available, you have a good opportunity to fill the gap which is created.
So coming on to my next question, you said that there is a huge vacuum that is there in Russia that can be filled. Huge opportunity for the Indian investors. Can you please tell us the kind, the industries, the sectors wherein this opportunity is, wherein Indian businesses can be set up in Russia?
First industries, of course, is pharmaceutical, which is already, I think, occupied. We have some of the big pharmaceutical industry. There's quite many of them. The top ones are already here. I mean, they have been doing business for quite many years, that is said. But apart from that, I think the big fashion houses, quite many of them have left. So that's again is the second one. And apart from that, I think in terms of let me say something in terms of technology and instrument related ones also are required, because they used to get, you're talking about telecommunications, you're talking about some other high-tech industry requirements is something that they used to import a lot from Europe, which I think is required now. I mean, they're looking for other sources for the high-tech industry also. Even that also, can be of big, areas where Indian businessmen can look into.
Sir, as you are from the travel and tourism industry, it's, there was a global pandemic there for 2 years, and now, the conflict that is going on the border. So how is, the tourism industry in particular coping up with such a situation that has been going on for, almost 3 years now?
Yeah, well, basically, it's like, here, since February 2022, COVID is forgotten in Russia. Right now, it's a different, the geopolitical challenges is what is in talk right now. The aviation industry also did get really affected, because, quite many airlines used to depend on the foreign companies, right? Like foreign leasing companies. So talking about Boeing, Airbus, etc. It used to take almost 80% of the aviation industry here. So quite many of them were under sanctions. So therefore, right now, as far as Russia is concerned, availability of the aircraft is very, very important. So I will give you an example. For example, if you look at pre-COVID, right, 2018 and 2019, there used to be more than 40 to 50 chartered flights which used to fly to Goa. I'm sure you know that Goa is a very popular destination among the Russia and CIS countries, right? There were more than 250,000 or 3 lakh Russians who used to come to Goa, because what I would say, as far as the Russia CIS is concerned, travel is not a luxury for them. It's a necessity. I'll tell you why. Because, in St. Petersburg, Moscow, it's quite cold. 250 or 300 days out of 365 days, we don't see sun. It's gloomy. We don't get the required amount of sunshine for a healthy living, right? So the 2 weeks or 1 month that they get a holiday in a year, they would like to use that. So, Goa is a very affordable and a wonderful, area to be with. So many of them travel to Goa just to be on the sand and sea, right? Basically. Mm-hmm. So it used to be around 50, 60 flights per week. Right now, we are just talking about, there's only Aeroflot, which is flying 3 times to Goa, right, basically. And we have few charters, I think around 3 to 4 of the Azure other aircraft, right? So there's a huge demand, but the supply is very, very limited, because not many of these airlines have those aircraft which are owned by them, which are not under sanctions. So I see there's a, kind of a great opportunity. Even I would say, quite many tour operator companies have requested me to speak to some of the Indian carriers, especially it's like, Air India or a few others, Data, etc. If they can fly along to these places, right? So if any of the Indian airline companies are interested, they can definitely take this opportunity and explore this market. When I'm talking about Russia, I'm not just talking about Russia, I'm talking about the CIS markets also, which is Kazakhstan, is 3.5 hours flight from Delhi. Right, we are talking about Uzbekistan, which is very close. So all these people from there are looking at Indian carriers to explore these regions, right, to expand their business. So there's a great opportunity for the Indian airline companies into this particular region.
Wonderful, so wonderful.
So, Mr. Reddy, our next question is, as a country coordinator for Russia, what are the initiatives FII is taking?
Well, basically, it's like, I wanted to organize that's one area which, we want to kind of explore. We see it's like, of course, so yeah, as far as travel is concerned, I know in and out, but there are other businesses which maybe I do not, know in depth, right? So one of the things which we wanted to do is to check among the members of FII, like, see which are the industries which are interested in this particular region, because I know very well that, as in kind of exporters or people who are doing business, they know because let's say it's like if you're talking about Russia, both for import and then exports, right? In both areas it gets, because it's a very raw material rich country, right? Basically Russia, in terms of any element in Mendeleev's table, you will find it in Russia, I'm very sure, right? So sourcing is very easy. At the same time, they also are looking into lots of imports from India, whichever they are used to get from Europe and other regions earlier, right? So I think one of the things which we would like to start, which will be very helpful to all the members involved, is to see who are interested in this particular region, so I can in depth, because what I'm doing right now is I am doing the representation for the travel industry companies, so I can definitely help them out because of my affiliation with the Indian consulate and Indian embassy earlier. So I know people who are working there, so we can try and maybe organize a trip into Russia. Whoever is interested with under the flag of FII, they can definitely join here. I can definitely get them introduced to the local businesses through the platform of the Chamber of Commerce. We have the Moscow Chamber of Commerce, we have the St. Petersburg and Leningrad Chamber of Commerce, right, basically. But for that, I think one of the best way to start with is to see which of the industries are interested and which business are interested, right? So accordingly, we can take a priority and kind of open this market for them.
Right. So I think our next question answer is also clear that there are lots of challenges which everybody face, from the clearing house to entering in the market. So what message you want to give to our audience as a country to Russia?
Okay. So what I see basically is the world is not going to be the same as it was earlier now, because of the geopolitical developments that is happening here. What I foresee for sure is that Russia is looking at kind of the support to get from the Asian countries, and fortunately it's like India is on a top priority, right, to make it easier for all. And recently I will also share one of these ones where there's where the president of Russia, right, Mr. Putin, is looking at a visa free for Indians for Indian tourism to increase into Russia, right? That they just talked to the tourism ministry to work on something on that for the next season. So, well, my advice is that to go aggressive and fill in the gap that is already created, because the entry expenses for the entry right now will be much cheaper than if it was been the regular times. So I believe in one thing: every coin has two sides, right? Of course, if you look at the brighter side of the coin, now the entry will be quicker and easier. So we have challenges, of course. There's lots of inflation, etc. But this can be a right time for some industries to fill in the gap, because the business are looking for it.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. आज आपने बताया कि किस तरह रशियन मार्केट इंडिया के लिए बेहतर साबित हो सकती है, और हमारे रिस्पेक्टेड प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने जो ऐतिहासिक कदम उठाया है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशनशिप्स के लिए और बिजनेसेस की पॉलिसीज बनाने में भी एक बहुत बड़ा अपना सहयोग दिया है, ताकि भारत का हर बिजनेस ओनर देश विदेश में आसानी से जाकर बिजनेस कर सके और भारत का नाम रोशन कर सके। ये एक बहुत बड़ी बात है। आज सिर्फ रशिया ही नहीं, दुनिया का हर देश भारत के साथ बिजनेस करना चाहता है, भारत की रिस्पेक्ट करता है और भारत के हर बिजनेसमैन को वेलकम करता है। अगर रशिया की बात करें तो इंडिया से रशिया में जाकर बिजनेस करना हो या रशियंस को इंडिया में आकर बिजनेस करना हो, दोनों के लिए ही बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटीज है। FII लगातार बढ़ता जा रहा है, आप सबका प्यार है। आज FII 44 देशों और 22 स्टेट्स में अपनी प्रेजेंस बना चुका है और बिजनेस एक्टिवली पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा है देश की इकोनॉमी के लिए और देश के बिजनेस ओनर्स के लिए, जो कि मैं समझता हूँ एक बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है और हम सब के लिए बहुत गर्व की बात है। तो इसी के साथ मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि हमारे दर्शकों को आज एक राह मिली होगी रशियन मार्केट की तरफ बढ़ने के लिए, और उनको कुछ भी सहयोग की जरूरत हो तो कंट्री कोऑर्डिनेटर के रूप में मिस्टर श्रीनिवास रेड्डी हमेशा उपलब्ध हैं। FII की टीम की तरफ से पूरा सहयोग किया जाएगा इसी के साथ मैं आज का एपिसोड समाप्त करने की इजाजत चाहूंगा। और दोस्तों, मैं आप सबसे भी ये कहना चाहूंगा कि आप हमारे कमेंट बॉक्स में जरूर लिखें कि आपको आज का एपिसोड कैसा लगा। और इसी के साथ हम आज का अपना एपिसोड यही समाप्त करना चाहेंगे। अगले हफ्ते आपसे फिर मिलेंगे एक नए गेस्ट स्पीकर के साथ। जुड़े रहिएगा। नमस्कार।
Thank you very much, Ms. Sanjay, Arora, and Dr. Divya, for giving us an opportunity to speak with the members. And I hope that I will see more of you here in this region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.